Boom, we are live. We are recording. Jeff Cohn, what's up, brother?
Hey, Josh Smith. How you doing, brother? GSD Mode.
It's been a minute, dude.
Let's go.
Yeah,
excited to be here with you today.
How are you doing? How's the family?
Family's great. Kids get older. It's crazy for anyone that has kids, how fast, and it's the cliche. They grow up so quick, and it's weird, man. I look back to when I was really grinding as an agent full time. I got my license in 06 in Omaha, Nebraska. My first year as a rookie, I sold about 50 doors. And my kids at the time were 6, 4, and 2. And it's been a whirlwind since then. Flash forward now, about 15 years, I own a brokerage with 150 agents. But our big thing now has been launching ancillary businesses like mortgage, title, insurance, and investment portfolios, and partnering with brokerages all over the country. So I have other people that run the franchise in Nebraska. And my big focus these last 2 years has been the ancillary. And it's been a great timing with everything that's going on, of course, in the industry. The attack against agent commission. There's a lot of other things we could talk about on the podcast today, but it's a big win to create parallel businesses. And that I call it like the hybrid office, where for me in the beginning, it was investing. And I know you came out to Omaha a couple of years ago. In 16, I started turning my real estate team into an investment team. And there's a lot of investment teams that turn their investment teams into real estate teams because they're synergistic. Yeah. So I just said a lot in a very short amount of time, but it's been great, dude. Family's good.
Last time we spoke, and you've been on the podcast several times. So if anybody wants to go back, we'll have links to those, to kind of hear your whole backstory. I want to kind of pick up from last time that we talked, because so much has changed. Mm-hmm. But you were not a brokerage owner, didn't have the franchise. You were running a large team, one of the top teams in the country. What changed there? What led you from going, okay, hey man, I've grown this mega team here, I've grown this big investment portfolio, to now I need to go open my own franchise and do this next chapter?
Great question, Josh. I always kind of prided myself on not launching a brokerage. And I remember even doing interviews with you, and you were running your own brokerage and I was running a mega team. We were over at Bershire Hathoway. So I started at an Indy in 06 in Omaha, and then went over to Berkshire, their franchise here in Omaha, which has about 50% market share, in 15. And from 15 to 18, we grew to be the number one team in the world at Berkshire. We were doing about 700 sides a year. I went from 70 to 700 sides in like 6 years. So just massive scale, massive growth. We hit a point where we didn't feel like we were growing, and we kept asking ourselves, is it us? Is it you? Is it the brokerage? Whose fault is it? And it's really not one person's fault, but the ecosystem in most traditional brokerages is not one in which the leader serves their followers by giving them the ability to be just like them. And I've always subscribed to that mindset. And so I was not in a position where I could launch a mortgage company, a title company, an insurance company inside the office. They would have seen that as competition. I had to launch those entities across the street. And I certainly couldn't go to other agents in the office that weren't my agents and invite them to be part of those ancillaries. And so I just continually felt this conflict of interest, where I felt like the broker kept winning in areas I couldn't win without being a broker. And I got to about 30 agents. And I feel like that's kind of the point. Unless you launch a team ridge or a brokerage and have a team there, you're going to hit about 30, and that's the cap. And that's what we've seen. Most teams are 3 people, maybe 5. You get up to 10 and you start breaking stuff and you start failing and fix it. And you got to, to scale. That's always the biggest challenge. So the short answer is we wanted to grow, and we wanted to grow across the state. We wanted to grow across the country. And we didn't feel being at Berkshire Hathaway was going to allow us to grow in the way we wanted to. After leaving, it was February of 2020. We all know what happened the month after that. So we leave February 2020. We launch a Keller Williams franchise, and I'm broker agnostic. Of course, I own a Keller Williams franchise, but it doesn't matter who it is. We just wanted autonomy and control. And within 2 years, we grew 500%. We went up. We're at 150 agents. We did about $500 million last year in volume, 2,000 sides, and then all of the ancillary businesses are in all of our offices. We're in 9 offices, so just massive scale. And I went from an individual agent in 06 to a team in 11 to a brokerage in 21, and now building ancillaries across the country, all in a very short amount of time. I mean, dude, you've known me how long? 5-10 years. We've been friends, and all this stuff has happened in our world. And you've obviously continued to grow and scale yourself. So it's pretty fun to have that vision and be able to continue, I say, failing forward and breaking stuff. And for me, that was the big reason I had to leave. I had to grow, and I couldn't grow inside of their world.
Yep. No, I love it, man. Congrats, dude. It's so awesome to see and hear, dude. And for those that are watching, listening, that are team leaders that are thinking about breaking off and doing their own brokerage, what were some of those learning lessons that maybe you weren't prepared for, or maybe that you were, but they were still, a lot of resistance, and what were some of those challenges going from a team to now full-fledged brokerage?
It's a heck of a question, Josh. And, I think a lot of people say brokerages go broke. It's kind of the big joke. And teams are able to generate a lot more revenue. They have less overhead. They have less everything. The challenge with a brokerage is most agents today want 100% commission. So how do brokerages make money? I've heard that typical brokerages average about $200 net per transaction, whereas a team's going to average about $1,000 net per transaction, depending on the split structure. There's a lot of, caveats to that, but that means that a team makes 5x the money that a brokerage would make. And I've experienced the same. What people don't talk about is data. If you're a brokerage and you have hundreds of agents, the win isn't the commission split. The win is the data and what you can sell to that database. And that's the conversation people need to be having. So I think the number one thing, if you're thinking of going from being an individual agent to a team, or a team to a brokerage, or from a brokerage to exiting that and building other ancillaries that scale with the real estate company, you have to know where you're going, because you can't create a plan without knowing what your end goal is. What's your exit? And it's interesting because your entry you'll base your entry based on what you want your exit to be. And so if it's just autonomy, you can probably get that and stay a team and use the brokerage license that somebody else already got and allow them to be the person who's responsible and has jurisdiction over your licenses. For us, we wanted control, and we needed to have the ability to do certain things that the brokerage wasn't allowing us to do from a scale standpoint. And so each person's going to be in a different situation and have different reasons for wanting to scale. But for me, it's two main things: more money, less time, less energy, and giving the people in my world the ability to be just like me. So if the environment isn't making everyone more money, less time, less energy, and giving everyone the ability to be more like me as I become more like you or somebody else that I look up to and continue to aspire to be, then for me, it's not working. And in my entire life, every time I've chosen to break something and change, it's been because either one of those two things or both of those things weren't happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to get into the ancillaries here in a moment, but first, you went from a team of 30. I don't know if all of those agents followed you over. But then, now you've scaled to 150 plus agents now and continue to recruit. And recruiting seems to be a big bottleneck for so many broker owners and team leaders. What are some of the things that you have found that have helped accelerate recruiting, that allowed you to be successful and have the rapid growth?
I love it. Yeah. So almost all 30 of our agents came with, but probably only about a third are still with us. And I'll answer your recruiting question and share why that took place. So when we left the Berkshire Hathaway franchise and launched a Keller Williams franchise, we turned our team into a brokerage. And so we no longer were Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group. We retired our jersey after winning our 6th championship and decided to build a brokerage called KW Elite. And so before, we were Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group, and invited all of our real estate agents to build their own teams inside of our world. So my belief is that every great brokerage should be able to appeal to 3 types of mindsets. One is the new agent, which we would call the dependent mindset. 2 is the agent that's been around for maybe 5 to 15 years, which we'd call the interdependent mindset. And 3 would be the veteran agent that wants to be independent, and we call that the independent mindset. A great brokerage can appeal to all 3 and have a different comp plan and value proposition for each person or team or brokerage that chooses to align with them. The challenge with real estate teams, when you look at growth, is most are catering to the dependent model. That's why so many brokerages tell new agents that join the brokerage to join a team. And then within 12 to 18 months, those agents quit that team and go start their own team. And the team leader's upset, like, hey, how can my own broker be recruiting my agents? Well, the broker doesn't have a dependent model. They use the teams to provide that. The broker has an interdependent model where they provide, maybe some admin services to put a listing live on the MLS, maybe a sign runner or a moving truck, some basic things. But most brokerages also don't have an independent model where I can just operate on an island, pay a cap of 25 grand a year, 100 grand a year if I'm a big mega team, and do my own thing. And so when we launched our brokerage, we wanted to essentially be able to cater to everyone and provide different value propositions based on the type of business each person wanted to build. So when someone comes into our world, we'll ask them, what do you want to do? Who are you? Are you a big brokerage? Are you a big team? Are you a small team? Are you an individual agent? What kind of resources do you want? What kind of support do you need? And in our ecosystem, will you make more money in less time with less energy and be in a situation that allows you to accomplish your dreams? And if the answer is that, yes, we are that solution, then there's no reason you don't come and join our forces. So our mega growth was partnering with entrepreneurs, guys like you, Josh, who have the entrepreneurial mindset that they understand that they're not in an active role of being a realtor. While they may choose to do an active role, their end goal is passive income and building passive wealth through investing, through a team, through ancillaries, and all of those types of things.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it, man. I've always looked at, a brokerage's job is to help their agents accomplish their goals. And so many brokers kind of have this mindset the other way around. Like the agent works for the broker. I look at it, fully flipped. And you guys have really focused on that. Hey, we're going to go out there and be that support system. So regardless of what the agent's goals are, we're going to go out there and support them at the highest possible level, accomplishing those goals. And I think that one thing that's important for people to know too is you're in Omaha, Nebraska, the home of Warren Buffett. So it's not like
crazy,
that resistance that you probably experienced there wouldn't be like if I switched from a Berkshire to a KW here.
No, dude, it was nuts, man.
Berkshire just,
Bro,
had such a big market share there because of Warren.
It was nuts. Like when we left, we and I can't talk about it because I signed a non-disclosure agreement, but Berkshire was not happy. There was an article that they wrote, and it wasn't because of me. It was on the heels of some big acquisition. A $5 billion acquisition falls through in January of 2020 that Berkshire Hathaway, the mega investment company, they ended up not getting this big acquisition. And like 2 days later, I announced that I'm leaving and I'm the number one team at Berkshire. So someone at Fox Business News picks up the article because they want to make it look like there's this parallel, like, oh, they also lost Jeff Cohn. And the comments are hilarious because people are like, wait a second, his $130 million in volume isn't a $130 million business. He's making like $3 million a year. You're comparing a $3 million a year person to a $5 billion company. Cool publicity for me, but your point is very true. Berkshire has, they've got it here. Like that's why they have so much market share. They have tons of money. They want to make Omaha their big successful location. So I didn't want to leave. I was actually surprised that they didn't make it, put me in a situation that would have kept me in their world. I was open to that, but the opportunity at Keller Williams that Gary Keller had created with us was a bigger and better opportunity, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but it's an ancillary business play. And for us, the big win in the future isn't going to be selling real estate and catching a 5 or 4% commission. It's going to be all of the other things we're going to provide to the consumer after point of sale. So often you hear agents, they're like obsessed with talking about get your next listing and make your commission. Well, how would you survive if that goes away? And more importantly, where's the passive income on that sale? You get one commission one time. Every 11 years, that person might buy or sell with you. They may refer a couple deals to you, but there's no passive income. When you start talking about property casualty insurance, that's $400 a year forever you're going to get off of a client. When you talk refi, that's 3 to 3.6% of the refi amount that you're putting in your pocket. You've got investing. So building an investment portfolio that runs along the side of your real estate company. That's been my biggest wealth grower in the last 5 years. When you came to Omaha, Josh, I probably had 10 doors. That's just 5 years ago. Today, I have 150 doors valued at over $20 million. And I didn't personally build that. I partnered with an implementer, my best friend, Clint, who's built that investment portfolio over these last 5 years. That's a short amount of time to build a $20 million portfolio in Omaha, Nebraska, like you pointed out.
Yeah, no, that's insane, man. That's amazing. And you've always had this brilliant mind for building these different ancillaries, if you will. I know it's different now today than it was when I first met you. But I remember meeting you and your assistant was reaching out to me to get you on the podcast and sharing your numbers. And I'm like, I just assumed you were full of shit. I'm like, no, this guy's lying. Like we were doing about like for like production. And I'm like, this guy's claiming to net essentially double what I'm netting. I'm like, this is an impossibility. And I thought you were a fraud, right? And I know I've shared that with you in the past. But your assistant was consistent with her follow-up. And eventually I was like, all right, let me give this dude a chance. And when you broke down your business model, man, you didn't just like, you did a brilliant job at zero basing the business where you were keeping 100% of your commission. And I wasn't, man, I wasn't going after the MSAs and different things. So even though it was a different structure, you were really smart with looking at alternative ways of gaining revenue to keep more of your commission, however you want to look at it. It's all revenue coming in.
Can I unpack that quick for the audience?
Yeah.
So if they're wondering, so I was always a big believer in 70, 20, 10. And what I mean by that is I always wanted to pay out 70. This is when I ran the team. This is no longer applicable at the brokerage level, but when we ran our team, we pay out 70% of overall commission went to agents. 10% of overall commissions went to overhead expenses and 20% went to my net. So my last year I did 3.2 million gross commission. I kept about 650,000 in net profit. That's back in 18, but I was making tons of money, more than 500,000 off all the ancillary businesses as well. And so a lot of people, even when I say that, go, that's bullshit. There's no way you only have 10% overhead. Well, the reason for that, the caveat you pointed out that I don't know if everyone caught, is we were able to zero base overhead expenses in two different ways. One was broker fees. We'd charge $600 every buy side, $900 every sell. We still charge that today. We make $500,000 a year on broker fees. And I never kept that as net profit. 100% of broker fees went back to positions that were value add for the agent: contract to close, admin, coaches, accountability managers, technology, conference rooms, literally food and beverages for clients that come in. I never kept any of it. In my mind, that was for the agent. So I took, $500,000 a year, kept pouring it back into the business off broker fees that were paid for by buyers and sellers. And then the second thing, in addition to broker fees, was marketing service agreements, which today are called strategic partnerships. And so the three ways of partnering with vendors: first is a vendor relationship where someone pays $50 a month to be on the list of landscapers and roofers, et cetera. The better way is strategic partnerships where they're paying to Zillow Leads or Boomtown or Sync, which I was getting about $12,000 a month. And you think, oh, well, Jeff, how do you keep money? Because you can't legally keep that 12 grand. Well, I was generating, and still am generating, 2,000 registered leads a month that I distribute to an internet lead team. And I keep half of the commissions that come off of those leads as net profit. And so over the last 10 years, I've generated over 100,000 registered leads, 2,500 closed internet leads, $17 million in profit. And I've kept half of that profit because I keep 50%. And the agent's ecstatic because they get to keep 50%. So to your point, those are the main ways we unpack it. And then the third way to partner, and the best way, is what leads us into the ancillary conversation, is once you see that you're making your strategic partners hundreds of thousands, or in my case, millions of dollars, you start to ask them if they're interested in partnering with you. And if they're not, you go and find someone that wants to joint venture with you, that already has the licenses, that's already an expert. They understand that your company has the ability to generate leads to them. They get to office in your office. And that's what we did with mortgage, title, and insurance. But I wanted to launch mortgage, title, and insurance companies that could operate in all 50 states. And that is not an easy task. I've spent 24 months of my life getting that up and running so that we can partner with mega teams and brokerages across the country in joint ventures where they don't have to do anything other than refer deals to us. And then we handle everything else, and we run everything out of Omaha, Nebraska. And that's what we built. And it's called E7.
E7. Okay. Love it, man. And yeah. And one thing that you point out, and I think that this is really important, is you were very diligent at making sure everything was fully RESPA compliant, working with your attorneys. Cause there is that fine line where you can get yourself in trouble if you don't manage this right, set this up right, and so forth. So there is a way to go out there and do this in a up and up way, which you did. And it was crazy, cause I had the support that I was getting from my vendors, but what I was missing was the transaction fees. And when you broke it down, and honestly, I mean, even though I'd been in the business for a decade and sold thousands and thousands of homes at that point, I still had some limiting beliefs, but like, I'm already getting this commission, I'm charging transaction fees. But then, you kind of gave me that faith to go out there and do it. And dude, it was, I mean, it's like 90% or higher of,
it's crazy, dude.
Nobody even questions it. Like,
no one.
I did the math, and like that first 12 months, I'm like, if we do this and implement this, and that first, it was a net of 300, just over 300,000.
No one believes it, dude. It's crazy.
With not working more. And I was just
Josh, check this out. So like I said earlier, most teams net 1,000 per agent, but brokerage is only net 200. Imagine if a broker required it, $600, that's 3x their typical net. So what do you think our brokerage charges? 600 on the buy, 900 on the sell. Agents, however, aren't going to feel comfortable charging it and or paying it. So if the client won't pay it, we require the agent pays it. On the buy side, it's easy to get the client to pay it because it's part of their closing costs. So if the offer needs to be above list, we just increase the offer price to cover the closing fee of $600, no big deal. On the listing side, it's a little more friction because I'm charging 6% plus this $900 fee. Well, what's the $900 fee? Well, the agent pays it if they can't get the client to cover it. And the agent has to be okay paying it, meaning they have to know there's value behind it. And the way we create value behind it is they see that all of that money is going towards a contract to close admin person. So our teams, our independent, dependent, and interdependent models don't have to hire admin staff. We have 8 full-time admin that literally take everything from contract or the listing all the way to close. They set up closings. They set up the stager. They set up the home inspector. They do everything. They'll do estimated cost sheets. They'll run the lockbox. They'll run the flyers. They'll run the key. They do everything. So once you put a house under contract or list a house, you're out. Other than negotiating the contract, you're out. And for $600 on the buy and $900 on the sell, agents are like, wait a second, I don't have to hire admin. I don't have to manage admin. I don't have to hold admin accountable. So don't be thinking as you guys listen to this, it's like this steal off the agent or it's a steal off the client. It was a 100% value add prop so that I could net 20% off the gross revenue. And agents still to this day, out of 150 agents, they're using it and they're loving it because it's a huge value to them.
Yeah. And, speaking of ancillaries, when I'm talking to team leaders or broker owners, and if we look at other, because we get stuck in our industry, we get tunnel vision and so forth, but I'm like, just break down all other industries, right? It's like, okay, look at the movie theater. The movie tickets might be, that might just be their loss leader. The revenue from that's maybe very little. But then you get in the movie theater and they're selling you popcorn, they're selling you candy, they're selling you now, they have bars and all of these. I jump on an airplane, right? My cost of tickets might cover staff, fuel, whatever, but then I'm on there, I'm paying for baggage, I'm paying for food, I'm paying for Wi-Fi, I'm paying for, all these other things. I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine that was way up with Reology for almost just over 20 years and kind of ran about 1,700 offices that he was responsible for in the East Coast. And he's like, look, our model is 5. We got to get each brokerage up to 5 revenue sources. So agent commissions is one of those. Right. Then they have other 4. That could be owning the building and charging, rent space. That could be mortgage. That could be title. That could be insurance, all these other things. Right. And it's any business. I remember studying Jimmy John's, and Jimmy John's, where they went from a few $100 million company to a multi-billion-dollar company when they realized that, hey, we can't just be selling the franchises and then outsourcing like our lettuce and ketchup, whatever, to Heinz. Like, we got to be the ones that produce the lettuce, the mustard, the mayonnaise, right, all that, and then sell those to our franchisees at a discounted rate. So they're more profitable. Everybody wins under that model, but it skyrocketed them up, 3, 4, 5x on a valuation. So, with those ancillaries, like break it down to, what you're doing, what you found to be successful and so forth.
Thank you. So Echelon 7 is the name of the company. We call it E7 to keep it simple. The reason we call it E7, it's the 7 multipliers that will help real estate teams and brokerages be able to weather the storm of commission suppression, which is happening and will continue to happen, in my opinion. If I'm wrong, then you're going to launch a bunch of ancillary businesses and get to keep 7% commission. So you're welcome. So the idea was to partner, train, and equip these real estate teams and brokerages. You'd partner in joint ventures in title, insurance, and investing. We do strategic partnerships in mortgage. We train with a training organization, which is our coaching company, just like your coaching company. And so our own coaching company that's available to the world is also the coaching company we use to train our agents, our mortgage lenders, our title closers, our insurance agents, and our investor acquisition and disposition managers. And then we equip them with the best marketing strategies in the country, out-of-box marketing solutions. So if somebody in Montana says, yeah, Jeff, we want to partner in mortgage, title, insurance, and investing, what do we need to do? Just send us your deals. We'll take care of the insurance close. We'll take care of the mortgage close. We'll take care of the real estate close. We'll take care of the title close. We'll take care of the investment part. Some states require boots on the ground. Some states don't. Some states will want to have someone in the office. Some states not. It just depends on the laws of each location. To your point, we've done our due diligence. We have the best attorneys that are part of our team, and RESPA attorneys, just to make sure everything's in compliance. And of course, anyone that's a team right now listening, make sure that this is all in compliance with your real estate brokerage, your franchise. I mean, there's lots of rules that spin around. But for those that go, oh, you can't do that, show me a mega brokerage that's not doing this. They're all doing it. So if you can't do it, why can they do it? The reason they can do it and you can't is because you don't own your own brokerage and they don't want you to compete directly against them. It's a scarcity mindset. This is the main reason I left Berkshire. And Gary Keller said, come over, do whatever you want. There's no rules at Keller Williams. And I loved that mindset. That's the independent mindset. And people wired like you and me, Josh, and probably a lot of your audience have that same mindset. Like, don't put rules. Of course, you have to be ethical and legal and all of those types of things, but don't limit me by stupid policies that are self-serving to the brokerage. And a lot of real estate commissions across the country, a lot of multiple listing services across the country, they've put people in these little pigeonholes, these little boxes, because they want control. And so for us, we just continually have been trying to fight through that and try to take the power back, have that independence. I would like to invite your listeners, if they're interested, we have an event coming up called the Team Building Summit. And if you're watching this, you can see the little link, theteambuildingsummit.com. Josh, I don't know if you've had a chance yet to speak. I know we've invited you and COVID got in the way a couple of times, but this is a 2-day, all-day event, downtown Omaha, Nebraska in June. The weather's beautiful, June 1st through the 3rd. Your listeners are going to get $100 off. So normally it's $399. Our cost is $299. And that's what we're going to make the price for your listeners. All you got to do is when you go to checkout, put in the word podcast, podcast, put in podcast. Josh negotiated $100 off for you guys. And I invite you because it's not just about building teams, and it's certainly not about selling real estate. It's about building and scaling businesses, but we talk a lot about ancillaries and mindset. We've got influencers coming, the owner of Sisu and founder Brian Charlesworth, the owner of Rockerbox, Josh Cunningham is going to be speaking, Rock Thomas, who owns a real estate brokerage up in Canada. He also used to work for Tony Robbins. He's coming and speaking. Matt Johnson, who owns Pursuing Results, which he has like 5 or 6 super successful podcasts. He's going to be speaking. So we have tons of thought leaders. And then we have about 10 or 15 mega team leaders that are going to be on stage talking about recruiting, lead gen, lead conversion, all the hot topics that are in the industry right now. So for anyone interested, sorry for the long plug on that, but I just know there's so much value there. We don't make money off you coming. It's a cost. It's a break even essentially. We just charge cost, but we'd like to fill the room with a couple hundred people, and wanted to have the opportunity to invite your listeners to come check it out.
Yeah, and any of you that are watching and listening, we'll have a link right below to make it super easy for you to go out there and click that, and just so you guys know, like, I'm not getting a kickback from this. It's I invited Jeff on to talk about all of these things because I love Jeff. I believe in everything he's doing, and he's just a human being that I've been able to learn so much from in this industry, and we've masterminded so much together over the years.
And this is, Josh, I appreciate that. I want to say that too. Like, I would never be here if it weren't for Josh and GSD Mode. Like, I am only as good as the people that have led me. And I listened to hundreds of your podcasts as I was coming up. And I know there's people now listening to my podcasts and listening to yours. And we're all in this together. We're all at a different time in the journey. But I know you and I share that same mindset. Like, we're just here to serve. We're here to help. Do I make money along the way? Yeah, I have to be compensated for my time. But my true passion is giving and getting compensated for giving on something I love to give, and spending time doing chatting like this. There's nothing better. I absolutely love it. I know that comes across hopefully in this interview.
Yeah, and I know you got a hard stop here in about 13 minutes. So I got a couple last questions for you. So with Echelon 7, if those that are watching and listening, because it sounds like you're doing these strategic partnerships with team leaders, with broker owners all throughout the country, what does that look like? Like, if I don't have these answers, if I don't have this dialed in, I want to talk to you about, like, what does that look? I mean, is it a Keller Williams specific thing? Is
not
it
at all
anybody?
No. Yeah, it doesn't matter what brokerage you're in. Like I said earlier, I'm super agnostic when it comes to brokerages. I own a coaching company as well, and we have hundreds of coaching clients across all brokerage brands. We chose Keller Williams as the franchise in Nebraska to scale with, but we'll go with any brokerage anywhere in the country. Typically, we'll just do an entry call, 30-minute call where we talk about the value add, what we offer, and then we'll have another call where we find out what that partner looks like, how much business they do, are they a good candidate. There's an upfront cost, just like in any joint venture. We bring money to the table, you bring money to the table, and I won't get into too many specifics here. But if someone wants to hit me up, you can follow my world on Instagram at Jeff M. Cohn. You can message me on there. You can shoot me an email, Jeff at KW Elite, which is my real estate brokerage email, if you want to. But our minimum standard, you have to have at least 100 agents. So a lot of the agents listening, that's a tall order, and we understand that. But that's kind of where there's that point of escalating growth. What do you say? What do you call economies of scale for choosing to partner in the JV is about 100 agents or 500 buy sides a year. And so if you're a team listening going, shucks, now I can't do it, we would invite you to invite other teams in or outside of your brokerage to partner together. And so we're seeing a lot of that where 2 or 3 mega teams, even across brokerage brands, say, well, hey, we can get 500 deals amongst 4 or 5 of our teams, and each of them will just have a percentage of their ownership, and then they can launch with us. So anyone can reach out. We do a due diligence phase. You can be up and running as soon as 60 days from today. If you chose to partner with us in certain states, we could be up and running very, very quickly. And we take it.
Are there any states or locations that you're not able to participate in?
We've had a lot of trouble, and so does everyone, in New York and California. Those are the 2 biggest challenges, just because of all of the rules and regs in those states. Not to say we can't function in them. It's just more cumbersome.
Okay. Love it, man. Love it. And you guys all have Jeff's email, Jeff's Instagram, all that below. So you can reach out to him, and highly encourage you that meet that criteria that are looking for this to explore that conversation. All right, dude. So got 10 minutes left. I got kind of one last major question for you. And I know that you're probably getting this on a daily basis, dude, but the market is nuts. Things are crazy. We're amongst, it feels like we're living in this, surreal movie where nothing adds up. Nothing makes sense. Like, what the hell's going on, dude? You got these massive institutional investors swallowing up all this real estate. People are just wondering, like, none of us have a crystal ball, but what's your take on what the market is doing, where it's heading, and where does all this go?
Yeah. I love guessing along with everybody else, and it's just a guess. No one knows, but I already shared on this podcast, and I think I've shared 1,000 times on my podcast. I think that our residential realtor industry that gets a commissions under attack, I think eventually agents won't make commissions. We'll get paid a fee. I've started talking about agent advisors. So I think a realtor will still play a role. They will be the fiduciary. The question is, are they working privately, or are they working for a large tech company like a Zillow? And there's 100 others. I won't throw their names out I don't want to give them power, but you'll work for these third-party companies, and you'll be nothing more than a Uber driver. So someone will ask to see a house. They'll hail the fiduciary agents in the area. You'll get paid $50 to drive to a house, open a door, and then they'll use virtual agents to do the contracts and contract to close and technology and AI and all that stuff. And people roll their eyes and go, well, that's bull crap. There's no way that they can do that. That's what's going to happen. It's not a question if it is, it's going to happen. So I believe out of the 3 million agents today, there will be 10% standing. That's 300,000. And out of the 300,000, 150,000 will be Uber agents, meaning they're getting paid a fee or a small salary every deal. The other 150,000 will be value adds. It'll be the people listening right now that are angry about what I'm talking about. You'll still be able to create value for niche markets. You'll be able to represent builders. You'll be able to represent your own brands. You'll be able to represent luxury. And I hope I'm not right. I do think that is the direction everything's going. And so the question more important to me is, how can we position ourselves if we're big teams or brokerages? And I've already answered it. We have data. So you have to stop thinking about living in a world where you make money per transaction. It has to become a passive. Whatever you're doing today, build a passive income streams. Like you talked about your friend, Josh, with the 1,700 offices that had to find 5 multipliers. You're going to be okay if you have a mortgage company and a title company, an insurance company, an investment company, and maybe a roofing company and a fencing company and a landscaping company. And you have a contract with ADT. And when you sell security systems, you get $500. You need to have your hands in all these little pots, and you have to figure out ways to create value for the client post-sale. This is the big fail in the real estate industry. Name me one company that once somebody closes with them, they stay in their ecosystem. Remax, EXP, Berkshire, KW. Once you close on a house, you're done. You bounce the ecosystem. Maybe there's like CRMs like Boomtown because you get your auto emails afterwards, or HomeBot. There's products like that. There's no ecosystem I know of today that everybody talks about after their sale. They keep going back. Whoever wins creating that platform, they win the war. They become the Amazon of real estate. Why is there not a place where I can go to get my home inspection from 7 years ago? That doesn't exist. It's in an email or on the DocuSign or Dotloop file in the cloud. Like, why is there not a site I get brought back to every single month to find out my mortgage payoff amount and to get information about my house? And like, when you if you bought an existing home and the house had work done on it 17 different times, why, when I buy that house, do I not know who are the contractors that did the work? When was the work done? What color of granite did they pick out? There's Carfaxes that know everything about a car, and we have multi-million-dollar houses and we don't even have any information about the houses. So we are in the process of building that platform. I'm not going to talk about it on this podcast, but we want to build an ecosystem that can essentially live in blockchain. And now we get into NFT, which I don't have time to dive in. We can come back and do another call. But I believe there's an online virtual ecosystem that lives in Meta, that's backed by blockchain, that plays a role with title. It becomes a title play. It becomes a home validation play. It gives the consumer, when they buy a house, all the data about that property. It gives the interested buyers the ability to see that property in 6 degrees of freedom, virtual reality. And so I've got a few different companies in play right now that are building that tech solution for the world.
Yep, I love it, dude. Now, what do you think that is driving it? I mean, obviously change is inevitable, right? And with technology and just the advancements of this, I mean, I have friends that have put insane amounts of money in just virtual reality showing booths in their offices now, where people just come in and don't even go tour the homes. They just jump in VR, right? All this. Yep. But is it the expansion of these outside institutional investors, like Block Power, that it wants to buy 120 million units here in North America, turn them into smart and green properties, and then lease them back. And, Jeff Bezos, like his new company Arrive, that eventually, like, you have a light bulb go out, boom, Amazon shows up, they deliver your food. They, right. Is it a lot of these institutional, like we've never seen before in the single family game, at least, that are driving this charge, or is it inevitable no matter what?
Yeah, technology, if something, like I said earlier, you make more money, less time, less energy, people are going to go to that. But I think it's the next evolution of kids that grew up in kindergarten with cell phones are now graduating from high school and graduating from college. And everything needs to be instant. It needs to be fast. They don't come from a world like you and I, Josh, where in high school, we didn't have cell phones. And so we kind of know what the old world looks like. So we're not in as much of a hurry, or maybe don't expect as quick of instant gratification. And so what Amazon has learned, and what Netflix has learned, and Facebook and Instagram and all these giant tech companies, is that people want instant gratification. And the place where that hasn't happened yet is anything that has required a physical presence. Realtors are physical. Anything you see today, cars, when you go buy a car, typically that's physical. You have to go drive it. Everything you can think in your life that's physical that could be virtual will go virtual, simply because of the path of least resistance. It will go virtual. So we have to ask ourselves, do we want to be a part of that transition and play a role in that virtual hybrid option? Or are we going to be left in the dust like Blockbuster was left in the dust?
Yeah, I'm blessed. A lot don't view it this way, but I'm blessed to be in the market that I'm in, meaning we're the testing ground of pretty much every prop tech company that's out there. I mean, this is where, Zillow got their Zillow offers, we're Open Door, all these companies just come here, but we're already seeing so much of this, like Open Doors technology, where you no longer need an agent to show you those properties. They download an app. The app opens a lockbox, self-closing doors, video cameras in place, and like Lennar Homes invested hundreds of millions of dollars in their technology. And now they've adopted that in theirs, right? Then, I already have showing agent apps in our market where we just, hey, at this property, at this time, I need somebody. 70 realtors are on there, all different brokerages. We put the fee, they accept, they go show it. There's rules where they can't steal that client from you. And there's a grading system. Like we're already utilizing all of these systems here in my market today, and it's all, it's like, we got to be prepped for it. But when you have awareness of it, like you do, you're able to go out there, make those moves and the right moves and so forth. So I love it.
Well, so, and everything you just talked about, where is our unique selling proposition? People have lost the confidence of what the value add is a traditional agent can offer. Because most agents, and I'm going to say this and offend everyone, most agents are not good. 97% do not offer value. They just go take their commission and run and go, look at all the money I made in such a short amount of time. There are 3%. This is why I say I think there will be about 5% standing at the end that offer great value, that take people through a process that saves them time and money and puts, the most amount of money back in their pocket. There are great people that can create massive value, and the consumer wants that person. But I think they've been burned so long that if they can cut out a 6% commission check, or a builder can cut a 6% commission, they're going to cut it out. And that's our challenge. It's that path of least resistance to net profit. And they don't see the value of using a high quality real estate agent. So if you want to win, the win is in the data, because everything else comes after data. So if you've got the data points and people know you, like you, trust you, that database you have today is the most valuable asset that you could have. And you need to be communicating to it daily, weekly, monthly, and have a process where you continue to bring value. Because no matter what business it is that you get into, it could be fencing, it could be dog walking, no matter what it is. If you have a database of people, you can upsell to those people. And when I say upsell, we can offer value to those people. You can sell the database. You can make passive income off the database. You could you could stop selling real estate today and just refer all of those leads, like you just pointed out, to some other person and charge a 50% referral fee. So build the database, keep building it, capture as much data points as you can so that you can use predictable analytics against the data, give them a place they can go to. So like for us, it's still Boomtown. All of our data, I have 400,000 people in my database, and they keep coming back. And I know when they come back, I know when they run mortgage calculators, I know when they request showings, I can see everything that they're doing. And the database can tell me, hey, Jeff, you need to have one of your callers call because they've just done X, Y, or Z. So predictable analytics and AI are going to be the next big evolution, and people are going to be communicated to on your behalf. They're going to think it's Joshua Smith, but really it's going to be your little bots talking to all your people.
Yep.
It's already happening, obviously.
Yep. And we'll have to do this again soon. I know you got a hard stop here. I want to respect your time, man. I truly appreciate you making the time, dude. This has been epic, my friend.
Appreciate you, Josh. Thank you. And I hope to see all your people. For those interested, come on to Omaha. You guys, we're going to have a great time. June 1st to the 3rd. Just go check out theteambuildingsummit.com. Don't forget the $100 Josh got you. He makes nothing. He gave it back to you guys at a $100 off discount. Just put in the word podcast.
All right, you guys. And all that information will be below. Thank you so much for all your support. Keep crushing, keep kicking ass, and we'll see you next time. Peace.